Hello, welcome back to my channel, Hasty Books. I'm Camilla and today I'm doing a tag video. And I feel like I haven't done a tag in a while. And I want to catch up because I've been tagged in a couple since the summer and I've not really done any, I believe. So today's book tag is the Mookse and the Gripes Bucket List Book Tag by SHAWN the Book Maniac. I was tagged in by Leo Bancroft. I think it was, gosh, I want to say it was like August. It was over the summer and I've just been so busy. I've been trying to catch up on myself and everything, so finally doing it. Thank you for tagging me, Leo. I believe this is a really easy tag. Yeah, so it says, simply tell us about 10 books on your bucket list. Books you want to read sometime before you shuffle off this mortal coil, in the fullness of time, but not necessarily anytime soon. So I've decided to pick 10 books that I actually own because I studied literature and I just love books and I love buying books. I buy a lot of feminist or literary fiction or classics that I feel like I should read and I'm sure that I will enjoy, but you know, sometimes it feels with the classics you have to be in the mood for them. So I've picked 10 books that I own that I don't really have plans to read anytime soon, but I would love to read at some point. And that's, you know, in the next few years. I've been saying that for some of these books for a while. So, you know, maybe this would be a good way to get to them because it says, optional plot twist. Have your subscribers vote on which books from your bucket list you have to read by a certain date. So like by the end of 2022, let's say. So I think I'll go with that. So I'll talk about the 10 books first. And then, you know, in the comment in the description below, you'll be able to see the list as well. And then in the comments, I would please ask you to vote which book do you think I should read in 2022, and I will be adding it to my TBR for sure. Let's dive right into the 10 books with, let's start with Bernardine Evaristo, Girl, Woman, Other. So I bought this, I think it was pre-pandemic, so she just won the Booker Prize, in 2019, and I picked it up. I had all of the intentions of reading it. Pandemic started. I feel like I have not been reading as much like more hard-hitting novels, although there is some really heavy ones I've read, but sometimes they're like a bit like this, where like their bucket list book, like I'm thinking of like Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things that I read over the summer because I wanted to read something from India. I think that book also won the Booker Prize. Yeah, so I think this is brilliant. I've only heard really, really great things and I can't wait to read it. And I am thinking of like reading it in 2022. So vote for it, you know. So yeah, I'm quite excited about it. I don't really know what it's about. I heard it's like different characters' journeys and perspectives, which I always love that. And I did love her book. I read one of her books over the summer. Blonde Roots, that's it. So that was about slavery, or like the concept of it was flipped. And it was so good. And like her writing is so smart. And I'm very excited for this one. So that's one of the books on my bucket list. Alright, next let's go with The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I've owned this book for many, many years. I think before the series came out, this was always like a book that was mentioned like in feminist literature and like in university. When the TV show came out, I watched it and it's just such a rough watch, you know, and I've been putting off reading this book because I feel like I have to be in the right mind to read about these atrocious things that are happening to women. So yeah, so I've been postponing it. I know I have to read it at some point. I don't know when. I'll get to it, I'm sure, because I only heard good things, and I heard it's actually quite different from the series, so, you know, that's a good one, I guess. Next we have a lot of prize winners here. We have Independent People by Halldor Laxness. He was an Icelandic writer. He won the Nobel Prize of Literature. I forget when, but don't know. But this was published in 1946, and it's a novel set in rural Iceland, and it's like one of these classics from Icelandic literature. I started kind of knowing more about Laxness when I started working for my current company, which is Iceland based, and I just, you know, love to absorb all this information and learn about it and learn about life in Iceland. So this was one that I got, I think it was actually secondhand, which is why it's a bit of a not a perfect copy. But yeah, it's quite a large book. I think it's 600 pages. Yeah. But I can't wait to read it. But it's such a large book that I've been putting it off, and yeah, so this we'll see. But I'm quite excited for it. I have a project coming up about the Nobel Prize of Literature, obviously, and so maybe at some point I could read it on that kind of project journey. Next, let's go with another Nobel Prize winner, actually. So this is Doris Lessing's The Golden Notebook. I became a bit obsessed with the Nobel Prize of Literature when we went to Sweden and we went to the Nobel Museum. And I obviously spent a lot of time in the literature section, and I learned about all these writers from around the world, from different periods. And for some reason, Doris Lessing is one that kind of stuck in my mind, because apparently her texts are very like feminist, like seminal work. And then I feel like when we came back, I saw this in a charity shop and I bought it, and it's been in my bookshelf since. I don't think I've touched it. I actually recommended to my feminist book club back then that we should read it. I think they said yes, and then none of us actually ended up reading it because it is a bit of a large one as well. Yeah, it's also 600 pages. I feel like since COVID, I've just struggled to read these larger books, especially if they're more serious. And I feel like the Nobel Prize winners' writing is probably serious, so I've not really approached it. This seems to be, it says fusing sex, politics, madness, and motherhood, a bold portrait of the intellectual and moral climate of 1950s, a society on the brink of feminism. So it sounds interesting, but also, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it, but we'll see, you know. Alright, let's go with something a bit more modern, I guess. Well, okay, so there's not one book, it's 3 books, but I guess I would ask people also to tell me what they think, but it would be to basically read a book by Khaled Hosseini. I own 3 of his books, so I own And the Mountains Echoed, The Kite Runner, and A Thousand Splendid Suns. I don't know which one is better. I feel like I was trying to Google it. I know this is all very personal, you know, what you prefer and stuff, but some people say The Kite Runner is the best, some people say it's The Thousand Splendid Suns. What do you think? You know, let me know. But I own 3. I did not realize until I actually put my library in alphabetical order earlier this year, actually, yeah, when I started on BookTube. So I didn't realize I had 3. I've been clearly obsessively buying them from a charity shop, and I feel like I should read one. I've heard his writing is amazing, and yeah, so I want to read one. Don't know which one. I should start with one. I would love people to let me know which one was your favorite, which one do you think I should start with, you know, like different questions, I guess, and maybe it'll be on my TBR soon. I guess we stay in a modern-ish sense. We're gonna go with The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. I own quite a few Allendes. I have some in French, translated from Spanish obviously, and some in English. When did I buy this? I think I bought this in Canada actually. Oh god. So I've had this for a while then. I love Allende's writing, and especially the ones that are based in Chile, which I believe this one is. It doesn't say, but it says spanning 4 generations, this magnificent family saga is populated by a memorable, often eccentric cast of characters. Together, men and women, spirits, the force of nature and the history converge in an unforgettable, wholly absorbing, and brilliantly realized novel that is as richly entertaining as it is a masterpiece of modern literature. I feel like that doesn't tell us all that much about the plot or what's going on in it, but I feel like my mom read this and she said it was actually quite touching, and I've just never been in the mood to read something that is potentially very personal to my family heritage, but also just generally maybe harrowing. So yeah, but it's on my list and I just can't wait to read it, because I feel like I want to read more classic literature, especially by women from the country, you know, of my father, from Chile. So I will be reading this at some point. Yeah. Alright, we have 3 books to go. What should I go with? Let's go with this one. Okay, next one is Zadie Smith on beauty. I have literally no idea what this book is about. I bought it because I just love the cover. I keep hearing about Zadie Smith and I feel like I need to read her. I love to hear like when she talks about writing and about books and everything. So I felt like I needed to pick something by her, and this one was beautiful. I hadn't actually realized that it was actually a winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction. It was actually shortlisted for the Booker Prize as well. So it's clearly an amazing book. But I just don't really know anything about it. It seems to be based between two different, yeah, it's set between London and New England. It follows a pair of feuding families and an entanglement of doomed affairs. I do love like a familial, intergenerational saga thing. I think actually it's been a bit of a theme throughout all of these books, I think. So this came even more to my attention to be on my TBR even more, even though I owned it, so it's clearly on my TBR. But when I saw, I think it was Jen the librarian, yeah, so she said that for 2022 she wanted to read The Woman of the Booker Prize, and then I was like, oh my gosh, that's such an interesting idea to read like all of the female finalists for something. I already had one of those in mind, which I'll be talking about soon in my 2022 reading plans. But another one that came to mind was potentially of reading all of the winners from the Women's Prize for Fiction. So this was one of them, and I was like, oh, that's great because I own it. So maybe if I get to that at next year or the year after, then that'll be when I read this book. All right, we're at the last two. So the penultimate book is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. I got this book in like one of these free libraries, you know, that's kind of everywhere. And this one was in town, and I just picked it up because it looked kind of very interesting. It's a very striking cover, and it's quite a large book. And I was like, oh, why not? You know, I don't know anything about it, never heard of it, but why not? Yeah, it turns out it won the Booker Prize in 2013. All right. And also I then heard about it recently on Books and Things, and Katie was talking about how this was one of her, I want to say, favorite contemporary books, or one of them. So I was like, okay, it's maybe worth it. It's quite it's a very large book, as you can see. How many pages? Gosh. 825 pages. Good chunky one. I think this is exactly the reason why I have not been reading it, and it's not really been anywhere near the top of my TBR. It's such a large book, and as I've said, I think I've struggled a little bit to read large books over the last 2 years, like to commit myself to such a large journey and effort. I heard this is really entirely worth it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if it truly is worth it. It's quite a large book. I'm sure I will get to it one day, and I heard it's so good, but I'm also a bit intimidated, I have to say. And finally, last but not least, is The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. I know this is really random. I have read the first and the second book, and I've always wanted to read the third book, and I own it. It's just not really been a priority to read this book. I definitely want to read it. I absolutely adore this series, and I think I will be watching their movies like every year. Yeah, just love the world building, and it is so full of digressions and random historical lore, but I think it's great, and I want to get to this at some point. It's just, yeah, not really been, I don't know, there's not been a time for it. I just haven't, thought to sit down with it and read it. Each of these books, though, every time I talked about it, and I'm like, yeah, I've not really made time for it, and now I'm like, it's in my hand now, and I kind of want to start reading it. Because I do want to read all of them, but I don't know, there's something stopping me anyway from diving into all of these books. Maybe it's because they're all quite serious looking sounding books, but yeah, so this is the last choice for you. Hi everyone, editing Camilla here. I knew I was gonna forget this book. It's the only one I didn't have in physical copy. So the last book actually to make 10, I can count to 10, is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I own this book back in Canada in English, so a translation, and I've just been meaning to read it for years. Obviously, I haven't been home in 2.5 years, going on 3 years, for next summer. So maybe I will bring it home with me next time I go to have it. And I think it's just such a classic of Latin American literature, so I definitely would like to read it, and I totally forgot because I didn't have the copy. Anyway, back to the video. So yeah, so this was 10, well I guess sort of 12 because there was 3 of Hosseini's novels, but technically, you know, 10 if you just count him as like an entity, like I will read one of his books and you can tell me which one you recommend. But yeah, so 10 books. I really cannot wait to read all of them, but also I can't wait, you know, that's why I haven't read them yet. While I'm wrapping up this video, I'm asking you to please vote which one of these 10 books do you think I should add to my TBR for 2022. I'll maybe pick 2, you know, depending on how I feel and how it looks. If it's the Luminaries, I may just only pick 1 and not pick a second one. But yes, we shall see. I really appreciate you participating, and let me know which one of these, if you've read them, is your favorite, what you think, potentially what books you're intimidated by, and which ones you've been not too sure about tackling right now, but that you have the ambition to read at some point. Oh yes, before I go, I want to tag some people, because obviously Leo, you know, very nicely tagged me, and I'm going to tag a few people. I've not had time to check if you've done it. So if you've done it, I'm so sorry. I'm really bad at this, but yeah. So I'm tagging 5 people, and I can't wait to hear, you know, your 10 books that are on your TBR. I'm gonna be tagging my trusty reading partner Jay from My Quarter Life Crisis. I'm also gonna be tagging in Sandra from Pull Down the Moon, and there's Rosie Cockshut and Michelle Lexi and Nikki at Red Dot Reads. And if I haven't named you, but you're keen to do this, please do it and let me know in the comments, you know, leave a link to your own video, and I can't wait to read it, watch it, yes. We're talking about books and reading too much, right? Alright, thank you so much for watching, and hey, see you back.